Hey, it is Naftali. Thank you so much for joining me on day 7 of the Humans Working Book Marathon. If you don't know what this is all about, please go check day number 1 to learn a little bit more. So today I'm going to share with you a couple of real-world examples of the concept of separate realities, right, which I talked about on day 6. The second story I call Who's to Blame, or root cause analysis. That's a nicer business term for it. So when I was working as a programmer or a technical manager, whatever, invariably at the end of every project, we'd have what we'd call a post-mortem meeting, which death. We just finished a project that we worked really hard on and launched, and it was pretty successful, but let's bring death into the conversation. Anyway, that aside, what would happen in these meetings? We would always blame everybody else, right? Like, we were always sort of the last persons in the chain, right? Like the graphics people had to do their thing, the strategy people did their thing, the copywriters did their thing, we had to get a spec together, all this stuff, and then finally all that was kind of dumped on us and we got to build the software. So we always blamed everybody else for not being on time, not understanding what the project was really about anyway, not thinking about the marketing before they thought about the product, not thinking about the scalability, nobody thought about anything the right way, everybody. And we were all convinced of this. Now, I happen to know that whenever this happened, in every other department, they did something similar. And what happened? They all convinced themselves of the exact same thing, but just substituting their department, our department for their department. They thought their department was the perfect one. Now, you're probably looking at me and saying, duh. Yeah, duh. Of course this happens. But we don't get, the part that we don't get is that everybody's story is equally true. Because it is equally true here, we are never going to get to a place of objective reality. All right? You can have lists of facts. You could show people when things were due and when they actually delivered them and stuff like that. Won't make a bit of difference. And we spend so much time doing that and doing that and doing that, trying to prove that your story's right, or your story's wrong and my story's right, instead of coming to an understanding. Instead of understanding where these business problems arise from. Instead of understanding this concept of separate realities. With that understanding, what's next? What you need to do, if anything, to solve these sort of problems, to not have them arise the next time. That's where those answers come from. It's not in if we only knew who was wrong, then next time we'd know whose feet to hold to the fire. And that's what happens every single day in every single company. More rules, more rules, more rules, more data, more punishments, more incentives, and it gets us nowhere. We're all running around like a chicken with their head cut off because we don't have an understanding. So that's what we're aiming to talk about in these weeks. And now, if I had a soapbox to stand off of, I would. Thanks so much for listening. See you tomorrow.